You are listening to the BBNI podcast, Journeys of Faith, Leadership and Life.
Welcome to Series 4 of the BBNI podcast. I am delighted to be back in the podcast studio again. My name's Lisa Keys and thank you for joining us on this podcast where we look at journeys of faith, leadership and life. Tonight, I am really delighted to be joined by two guests in the podcast studio today. Joe Graham, who is from First Irvinestown Boys Brigade Company. You're the captain and you're joining us tonight, Joe, with Archdeacon Paul Thompson, who is your minister and the chaplain of your BB. So, Joe and Paul, welcome to the podcast studio.
Thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
And it's lovely to have you guys. You've travelled up here tonight and, you know, maybe if you're listening to this podcast, you're listening during the morning or whatever, but this is the night time we're recording and you've travelled from Irvinestown to come up to Newport to do this for us. So I really appreciate you coming up this evening after work to be in our podcast studio. I want to jump straight in, guys, and just to ask you to introduce yourselves, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. So Joe, we'll start with you. Tell us a wee bit about Joe Graham.
Well, I'm 62 years young, enjoying life to the full. I'm married and have three boys, William, Peter and Nathan. I was originally from Dromara and in my earlier youth I was a member of First Dromara Boys Brigade. And it planted the seeds of basically what youth work and what stuff was about. And friendships when I was in the junior section and ready to go to high school, then I met some of the boys from other schools that was coming to mine, and we made the friendships in BB was lovely. I'm married now 30 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Which is grand, and my wife Lorna is also an officer in BB as well.
Oh, fab.
The three boys, they had no choice, but they had to come to BB. And I'm delighted the three of them all received their Queen's Award as well.
Brilliant.
My normal job is I'm a classroom assistant, and but I also do part-time work with Hydrobikes. But I'll tell you a wee bit more about those sort of later on.
Great.
My youth work, I only did about 5 or 6 years with BB in Dromara. And then it was just mum wasn't able to drive, daddy worked late on Wednesday nights, so it wasn't always just being able to get it. But when I got to about 17, 18, I joined the Young Farmers.
Okay.
And it's amazing when I look back on Young Farmers and look into BB now, the number of BB leaders that have been past Young Farmers members is unreal.
Yeah,
I was club leader of Fertana Club. And then for me to get the people to take part in the competitions, I had to do public speaking and develop it on. I was a quiet child in those early days, but that soon changed. I worked my way up to county chairman and I was national president 95 to 97. Fantastic. And that opened the world. I love to travel. I travelled to Canada through Young Farmers. And it was actually, once you do the travelling, you become a member of the ambassadors, and my first reunion I went was the Killyhaviland, and I met my wife Lorna, who'd been to Norway, and then this was it.
And so 30 years later.
30 years later. But when I finished my role as president, the Reverend Raymond Thompson spoke to me, says, Joe, I need a BB leader. I goes, Reverend Thompson, I've had a very hectic few years. I need a break. He says, Joe, I need male leaders, please. He says, come in for a wee day or two, just till we get you going.
Isn't that what they always say? Come in for a day or two.
And he got me in, and I was working with the company section at that stage. And then 2 or 3 years later, after that, Paul Moore, who was the captain then, says that, Joe, would you take on the role of captain? I says, you need somebody sensible, and she says, Joe, you're the very man. So Reverend Thompson put a bit of pressure on me, and then I got involved in the West Ulster Battalion, and actually some of the boys, I then took on the role of Queen's Badge advisor for the West Ulster Battalion. But it's a great scheme. And I have told so many boys, this will stand on your CV. Absolutely. This will look good. And I always tell every boy, make sure you wear the lapel badge, because you don't know who's going to be interviewing you. And this will open a door into other questions, showing leadership skills and development and all that there. During my time as president, William, my oldest boy, was born 3 months premature.
Oh. Oh.
£1.13.
My goodness.
My wedding ring went onto his foot.
Wow.
And it changed our lives altogether.
sure.
Now, William has a condition called cerebral palsy.
Okay.
He has got a foundation degree in computer science, working for Ballymallard Football Club and all the rest of it. But BB was his thing. And one thing I found about Irvinestown BB, we are open and we're trying to include everybody.
Absolutely.
We have quite a lot of children with autism and bits and pieces and things like that there. And it's known to adapt the programme for to meet their needs. I have a wee boy who's very autistic and the psychologist came in one day to BB to play the piano. She says, "What have you done to that child?" I goes, "What do you mean?" He says, "He's all over the place in school, but you have got a routine. He's listening, he's obeying." And it's just you adopt the programme to suit, but the mummies and daddies are praising the work that we do in our company to have everyone included. So that's my role in what
That's
BB.
fabulous. I've learned so much about you, Joe. We've had several conversations over the years, but I've learned so much more tonight, so this is great. And then what about you, Paul? Tell us a little bit about you.
Right. I'm married to Lorraine. I'm from Armagh originally. Mum was from here, all from Armagh. My dad's from here, from County Cavan. I've two sons, Hugh and Ollie. Now they both live in England. And I began my journey, I suppose. I was ordained into ministry at the minimum age of the Church of Ireland. So I was 24.
Okay.
24. I'd gone to university and I was straight in. And I was actually in parish ministry for 11 years. County Down, County Antrim and East Belfast. And I thought I'd try something different and not just in being, as we're normal church work forever.
Okay.
And so I joined the prison service over in England.
Right.
And served 18 years in the prison service. So I was a chaplain for 18 years and currently have been in parish ministry for 18 years altogether. So different postings, youngsters, adults, short-term, long-term, and on the way I trained with the Met Police as a family liaison officer and trained as a therapeutic counsellor through the prison service as well.
Okay.
And had some great times. It was a challenging time.
I'm sure.
But then at the end of that, it was time to be thinking of moving on and doing something different. And so a vacancy came up in a certain Irvinestown in Fermanagh. And back across the Irish Sea, I came and to find Joe and a good BB company. And part of my background was in BB as well. I belonged to First Aldermore Boys Brigade.
Fantastic.
Outside Portadown.
Yes.
So that was my grinding in BB there.
Well, Annickmore's still going strong as well,
is
as
indeed.
is Dramara that you mentioned, Joe. So, that's super. Brilliant. Thank you. Well, look, Paul, you're an archdeacon.
Yes.
So I imagine that some of our listeners may not have heard of an archdeacon. Some of them may know, if they're Church of Ireland, that archdeacons exist, but a lot of people probably don't know what an archdeacon is. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what is an archdeacon, or what do you do, or what does that mean?
Can I phone a friend? I think if I use a BB analogy, we're used to battalions.
Yes.
In the Church of Ireland, we have our geographical areas called a diocese. And over a diocese, our leader is the bishop. And the word bishop means overseer. And I'm his deputy.
Great.
So the bishop will lead, but as well as being minister in our two parishes, part of my time is alongside the bishop. Different roles, I suppose. Some of it is a pastoral role to other church workers, clergy and lay workers. Sometimes trying to, if things do go a bit awkward, trying to sort of heal relationships in here and there, or help with diocesan finance issues, or just help with safeguarding issues and administration and organisation throughout the area. So our patch goes from South Donegal through mid Tyrone, County Fermanagh, County Monaghan, a wee bit of Leitrim, and down to Carrickmacross is our patch.
Lovely.
So we sort of cover that.
Yeah, and quite a nice geographical area there. You're covering some lovely places, Monaghan, Donegal.
I know, all very different, but it does give a different dimension to working in a local church. But I mean, the local church is the bedrock.
Yeah.
But the working alongside the bishop and other colleagues just to give the leadership on that level gives a different dimension.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. So, Joe, I know you in BB context, and in Irvinestown, I think there's around 70 in your company, which is wonderful. And you mentioned your classroom assistant, but you also mentioned hydrobikes. So tell us a little bit about that. What is a hydrobike?
A hydrobike is a bicycle you ride on the lake.
Okay.
Or the river. And how this all come about, the Bradshaw family from Lisnarrick are all Queen's men.
Okay, wonderful.
Which is super.
Love a BB connection.
Oh, that's it. We use them. And Stuart would have come back as an officer to give me a helping hand. And one night he says to me, Joe, can you drive a boat? Okay. I says, not really. I says, but if you're willing, I'm willing to be trained up. So the 2 or 3 weekends I went down to be trained up, it lashed out of the heavens. So the boat for the White Island Ferry didn't really happen because it was the weather stopped play. But he put me inside the shop, and it's Castle Archdale Water Sports and Boat Hire. They do the wee boats, and there's canoes and kayaks and all this type of stuff. So the 3 boys decided to do a little bit of revamping up, and the oldest boy had been to America and seen these bicycles that you cycle on the lake. And they sort of thought, Joe, what about this here for an idea? And he says, are you? So I was just sort of doing weekends and over summer holidays and bits and pieces and stuff like that there. And so the year they ordered them in, COVID happened.
Oh, goodness.
Which we thought, oh, hold on a minute, this mightn't go according to plan. But it worked to our advantage because everybody was staying at home. Yes, they weren't going anywhere. And how many people have cycled a bicycle out in the lake? There was the novel idea. Yeah. And that demand, and the thing is, we had only 10 bikes that first year. And it was suddenly, everybody was wanting to get out in the bikes. And we were able to sanitize them down and then get them out. So it was just Stuart and all says, Joe, you're the man, you're the front man here, you know what you're doing here. And they decided to do a wee bit more diversification, and they also opened a place in Enniskillen. And Enniskillen is the only island town there is in Ireland. Yes. So we had a wee route to go right round the island. Yep. And then as they progressed the following year, we've opened up in Belfast. So it's the back of the waterfront, right up to Cutter's Wharf, and then sort of back down again. But it's a lovely way. What I have actually found, we have used it a couple of times as a fundraiser. We did a hydrobike-a-thon, which was 24 hours round the island of Enniskillen. Wow. And we raised an awful lot of money. Each of the groups has done it. We raised about £2,500 for our own BB company. But there was a lot of other charities as well. And then shortly after that, the King had been crowned. And he wanted to see all the water activities. So I had the lovely pleasure of welcoming King Charles. I did offer him a go on the hydrobike. He was doubtful, but he quite liked the look of what we call an e-board, which is a paddle board with a wee motor. So you stand on this, and actually you can go around the same route on an electric e-board.
Never seen those before.
So the lovely thing about it is, with being Queen's Badge Advisor, we're always trying to think of ideas that boys haven't done and different activities, especially when it comes to the President's Badge, and they need that little bit of adventure. And what we have found, quite a lot of the companies around our way, and some of them up in Belfast, have come down. Now, it's ideally better suited for company section. You basically, as long as from your heel to your bottom is more 24 inches, you're able to cycle the bike. You won't fall in unless you do it deliberate. So you have the life jacket on, you have the cycles on, and away you go. But it was the Bradshaw family come forward with this idea, and it's been very, very successful. But we've used it as sponsorship. I'd say some of them is wanting to cycle for 50 mile, get the group down. The lovely thing I found about us doing this with the hydrobike-a-thon, daddies got involved as well. And they just thought, and I was getting them up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to do it, but they loved it. And it was just a different way, and it's a lovely way to see Fermanagh at its best. And then to also, how many you've heard of going up the Lagan and the Bubble? Why not go up it on a bicycle? Lovely way to see it. So we're involved with that there, and it's good fun.
And isn't that lovely? There's a connection there with the boys who have come through BB and started that off, and then you've got other BB boys going down and doing it. And if any other BB companies are interested, we'll certainly pass on your details, and they can come down. And
the Bradshaw boys, they always had hadn't been for the Queen's Badge,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have got their jobs that they're in today
Yeah.
and things like that there. But it put them on the foot ladder, and they appreciated what we did in BB.
Yeah.
Jonathan was actually one of my very first Queen's men.
Oh, isn't that lovely? It just
98, 99.
yeah, those stories are what makes it, isn't it? And it must be, I think those are the stories that in the days whenever, you know, volunteering is challenging, and sometimes you must, you know, you come in from work and you think, oh, the last place I want to do teeming with rain is go out. But it's those stories that keep you going, isn't it? Because
it is,
you
yep.
know that you are making an impact on those lives, and I think that's just the benefit of it, and the far-reaching programme that we do within Boys Brigade, and there's something for everybody, you know.
And
that
even
come
this
along.
last couple of years, I've been invited to boys' weddings.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
And I goes, what did I do? And Mummy and Daddy would say, Joe, you had a big influence.
That's lovely. That really is lovely. Thank you. Thank you. So, Paul, when I was talking to Joe a few months ago, he was telling me all about you and this lovely story that you have. And I was just really struck by the story. I thought, I need to hear this story. Other people need to hear this story. And so that probably is what sparked maybe we could get them both on the podcast together. So, you know, would you be happy to share that a bit about your experience and share that story?
And I will, but first I have to say as well, there's a lovely photograph doing the rounds of Joe shaking hands with the King.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Well, Joe was the one on the Hydrobike. The King was on the shore, and Joe shaking hands.
And just hope he didn't slip in.
Well, I was going to say, that had happened, my goodness.
It is a very good photograph, I have to say.
I would have been more
that.
famous.
Yes.
It is.
We'll get a copy of that.
Very good indeed. Yeah, but yeah, I do have to thank Joe for this as well. I think because it was a battalion service we hosted in Irvinestown. I think we were due to have one COVID year, and it was then that was linked with our anniversary as well. So it was held afterwards then, and I was given the address at it, and I told my story, and I didn't think on one level much of it, but chatting to Joe afterwards and a few others, it put it in different perspective because although I do a very, you say, public type role, I have a stammer, I have speech trouble.
Right.
I can master most of it now,
Yeah.
but when I was at primary school, I hated reading.
Okay.
I detested reading because it terrified me because I couldn't say 3 or 4 words without stammering.
Right.
I fell over every word and I struggled. Early days of BB as well, that age group, I couldn't speak properly. Speech therapy over time helped. But even yet now, there's sounds I struggle with,
Okay.
and I will slur over because I struggle with them. People who know me well can recognise some of those. And if I talk too fast, I stammer or I'll stutter a little bit, but it is there. But growing up through activities like Boys Brigade and others like it, I learned to cope with it.
Okay.
And you weren't rejected or alienated because you couldn't say things like other people. And gradually through things like that and little things in the church, my confidence built up. And so I told the story at the battalion service about a wee boy at school who struggled with reading and stammered and stuttered, and then said, well, that's me.
Wow. I'm sure that was a surprise for some people, not knowing.
Probably was.
Particularly when you're doing it very publicly and speaking about a little boy who had problems with doing that public speaking.
Yeah, and I think it flows through. Joe mentioned earlier about how the company, well, BB as a whole, but specifically how we in Irvinestown like to work is to include everybody.
Yeah.
And to me, the way I was always included in the things that I better struggle with reflected, I think the way, Joe as captain leads the company, and that filters down through the leaders, the boys, mums and dads, family, that everybody has a real place, and everybody, it belongs and is really valued. And I think, to me, looking back now, and I think chatting about my story after that service probably helped me see my story a little bit differently as well.
And it gives a bit of hope to some other people, doesn't it? That, we do, you know, we all have things that we struggle with, but you know, in BB we find a place where we belong.
Yeah.
You know, and that it actually it makes the experience of BB much richer, because there's no two people the same, and everyone has different things that they do, and they help people out with different things. And you must see that week after week, Joe, with, you know, the boys, even when they, you know, they come in very small and they go up through the company, and just how they develop and grow.
It's quite funny that when they start their presence and their Queen's Badge, and we need them to do voluntary service within the company,
Yes.
and we mostly send them anchors or juniors, whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10 the boys will come back, Joe, were we ever that noisy? Were we ever that? I goes, yes, you were probably worse. But to me, that there's a lovely stepping stone for the leadership skills, that they just don't think it's just we appear and it happens. It plans them ahead and gives them leadership skills. But we were quite blessed when Rev Paul was installed. I remember coming out that night, and I goes, my name's Joe Graham, captain of BB. He says, Joe, I used to help enforce Thermara BB. I thought, you're the man I'm after. And it was lovely, really, really. And I just thought his enthusiasm, and at one stage I sort of thought, no, I've done enough here and all the rest, but I can't let him down.
I know.
Of course you can't. And now you're actually live and recording as well, Joe.
You have. And I think it shows that you have a good relationship, and that's so important, isn't it? Because Boys Brigade is part of the ministry of the church, and you know, it is wonderful when we see really strong relationships between the captain and the minister, and that just helps the whole of the organisation just to grow and to flourish.
Like, for instance, this year when we went to programme planning, right, what are we going to do and all the rest, what's our fundraiser? And one of our new officers, Mark, says, what about doing a soup lunch? And the Reverend says, right, leave it with us, we'll get this all sorted. And the whole team together. Now, it ended up, we had the enrolment service, and then went straight into a soup lunch.
Lovely.
We didn't put a charge, and we raised over £1,700.
That's fantastic.
The church is absolutely amazing with the support.
And what a lovely way for the parents coming to the enrolment to feel part of the church community by, you know, a nice bowl of soup, no expectation from anybody, and just come and have fellowship together.
And the lovely thing about it, I'm not using this as a plug, one of my Queen's men this year, that is Archie Knox, his daddy has the Tilana restaurant, and we went to him to sort of say, look, any chance you supplying the soup? We went to pay him, and he says, oh, no.
Isn't that lovely?
I thought, I said, no, you need, he says, no. He says, you've no idea how much work, how much my child has enjoyed. And I thought, whoa.
That's fantastic.
No, it's lovely, really. But the whole church, they know Reverend Paul would every week have stuff that we're doing in BB and the church magazine and all that. And we have found we are now, there's only 2 from companies in Fermanagh, us and Pedigo, but we're finding now we're actually pulling ones in. And as a classroom assistant in Devonish College in Enniskillen, and this wee boy came up to me, hello, my name's Alex. Can I come and join your BB? Because Nick and Bobby thinks it's class.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Yeah.
Right, come on, bring it on.
Bring it on. Brilliant.
I think too, yes, the BB doesn't exist in Irvinestown on its own.
Yeah.
That you know, it's linked. It doesn't just link to the church, but it's expression of the church community very much. You know, and we try and tell folk in the church what BB's doing and what BB actually means.
Yeah.
You know, so that they understand and appreciate it, even if they aren't in BB.
Yeah.
Or will never be. They understand what happens and what the folk are doing and
That's
what it's all about.
That's brilliant. You are obviously doing a good job, and it's good teamwork, and that's really lovely to see. I know that, you know, in my time as a BB leader, I was anchor leader, that each year brings so many different stories, and you know, there's highlights and there's this little moments that make us pause and smile, and it just, you know, reinforces that it really is worth the effort. So, any memorable moments, Joe?
Where do I start? Loads of all my Queen's men. I just thought it's amazing basically what they have achieved. My son William, for being in a wheelchair, he had to take up a new skill, took up bocce, end up All-Ireland champion, bits and pieces like that there. And one of the lovely ones that I asked a wee boy one day, would he do the reading at the enrolment service? And he goes, are you sure? I said, no, go on ahead. And he did it perfect. And his mum come up and thanked me.
Oh, lovely.
I thought I only asked him to do a reading. He says, but he never was given that opportunity before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the simple moments. The one of the wee special needs boys, a wee bit autistic, and he got his Queen's badge and he lifted. He says, "This is the world to me."
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
No, so actually, there's so many, and I just thought they're good boys.
Yeah.
Yes, at times they drive me mad. No wonder I have little hair, but the whole lot. There is a great community within them, and the parents really do appreciate what we're doing. We're hoping we're doing it right.
Yeah. Well, you're getting the boys coming back, and they're telling you, so it must be. Anything ever go horribly wrong, Joe? You know that thing where you think this is how it'll do. And then you do it and you think, oh dear me, that did not go well at all.
I got scared one night. I got a drugs awareness lady in.
Okay.
And it was just one of those ones. And each of the boys was told to give the name of a drug, begin with their name. And I just thought, it scared the life out of me.
Yeah.
Just basically. And it was... It's not that it didn't go wrong. The boys were so more aware of what the drug situation was, and I asked what the in drugs was about. Irvinestown, actually in e-tablets, but nothing. But all of those boys never touched, never dabbled, and I was so proud.
Yeah.
But there was a one wee boy who said he could get if he wanted.
Oh.
I rang the minister and I said, I'm going to ring this parent. And the parent says, thank you for that tip off. At least I know to get him away from that crowd. And from a leader's point of view, it worried me that drugs are out there. There is access, but it's trying. And I told them the following week, if one of you even suggested or doing, I will be ringing in the police. But it was just one of those scary moments that I suddenly, I'm glad I grew up in the environment I'm in.
Yeah.
But the drugs awareness lady was absolutely amazing, and all she left the message, one could be fatal.
Yeah. And
just to be aware of it. And it was, but I found that we've had done different trips. We did the police across, we had the RNLI and things like that there. The community, the boys had a visit the other week to the fire station, and in the middle of that there, didn't they get a call out? So the boys seen them in action, but they are going back on another night. What we used to go to Toll for to do adventure work and badge work and things like that there. And one was just, they were kitted out, but they had to go through a ditch and gutters and muck. And one wee boy got in the well, he's got stuck. He says, I hope I've got my president's badge because this is awful. The next boy jumped in and says, this is class. And you seen the boys that was outdoor, the ones that, but you were delivering skills.
Yeah.
And they were leading it, and they were only too glad to get it. And when they do get the badge, they remembered, this wasn't given to me for nothing. I earned it.
And I think that's important, isn't it? They feel that they've earned it, you know, and they have. And, you know, I think that's the good thing about the badge too, because if you do have those young people with special needs, we accommodate that and we work with them so that they earn it as well at a level that's appropriate to what they're able to do. And that's really good.
Recently, one of my Queen's men was also in the cadets.
Okay.
And he was on the Guard of Honour for Prince Philip.
Oh, my word. What an honour.
Yep.
What an honour. Fantastic. It is hard being a volunteer. You know, it's busy life, you know, balancing things. People are balancing home, they're balancing work, lots of things. But it is extremely rewarding, as we all know. So if somebody was considering getting involved in BB, what would you say to encourage them? Paul, I'm going to ask you first.
I would say come along, literally, and have a look. Not to get you caught in so you can't escape, but to genuinely see the fun. Because I think the way BB is set up as an organisation, I make it local, so make it Irvinestown, it's enjoyable. It tires you out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And I know sort of one little snippet from me comes to mind is that there's a photograph we put up last year before for one display night where the boys are doing the box work, but there's a certain bald head over the box and it isn't Joe's, it's mine.
Okay.
So they're jumping over me.
You're up for anything?
But that's a sense of fun.
Yeah.
There's a serious level, absolutely. But if someone coming to volunteer, they aren't coming to volunteer in a deadly, boring, ultra serious doer organisation. It's about fun, and it's allowing for them to understand that they're allowing these wee boys and young men through fun develop skills for life.
Yeah.
And I think when a volunteer captures that idea, this is me helping somebody on their journey and enjoying it myself while I do it. And I think Joe talked about the impact that BB's had on individuals. I think when volunteers realise, actually, this is about someone's life, helping someone develop. You aren't shaping their character. What they're discovering, they're having their character shaped by their own choices and what they're doing. I think when a volunteer discovers that, it's so enriching. They may be tired out. They may be totally flattened sometimes. They go home with their eardrums half burst. But that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Brilliant.
One of the lovely things was one of the boys went to university and there was a night in the Students' Union and they were doing quiz and they had a Bible round. And one of my ex-BB boys, every one of those Bible questions, and they were, where did you learn that? He said, BB.
Yeah.
And we're planting seeds, and at times you think, are they taking it in?
Absolutely, yeah.
It was one of those lovely moments. Oh, that's one of my boys, yes.
That's fantastic. And if that doesn't encourage you, what will? Anyone who's listened to our podcast knows that as we begin to wrap up, and I mean, I could talk to you guys all evening, but you've an hour and a half's journey down the road. But we always ask our guests, if there was one piece of advice that you wish you had been given when you were younger, what would that advice be? So, Joe.
Travel more.
Okay.
Make loads of friends, and BB is renowned for that. And I'm talking worldwide.
Yes.
And no matter where you go, but grasp the opportunity. Give, if mommy and daddy want you to get in for that Queen's Badge or whatever, you get in there. And it's amazing, just grasp the opportunity and enjoy it. Life is too short. Yeah. And we are trying to teach you the difference in right and wrong. But there's an awful lot more to life. And BB really has stood by me.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Paul?
I go a little bit of what Joe said. Yes, enjoy life. Go for it. Take the opportunities and enjoy it.
Brilliant. Well, look, gents, thank you so much. I do really appreciate you taking time to come and join with us. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and I know that those watching and listening will have enjoyed this as well, just hearing a little bit more about what goes on in BB and particularly what goes on in Irvinestown. And maybe before too long, we'll make the wee journey down and come and visit you. I know we were down in Donegal in September and we were up in Omagh for some training there in January. So we are out and about a fair bit, but we'll maybe get down and see you lovely folk down in Irvinestown. So thank you to those of you who have tuned in to another episode of our podcast, Journeys of Life, Leadership and Faith.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the BBNI podcast. Subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to joining with you next time.